on the familiar path with a pulse of its own.
3, 2, 1.
Final Encounter Cast. Interesting conflicts, not conflicts of interest.
Typical corporate bullshit.
With your hosts, Nate, Robbie, Chris, Nika, and Callie. FinalEncounterCast.com.
Ready? Get set? Go!
What's up? Welcome to Final Encounter Cast. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate having you along on this Sunday. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Starting at 1 p.m. This is where you can find the show live. If you're listening currently on the podcast and you want to be one of our live callers, you can do that, but you got to tune in live. Twitch.tv starting at 1 p.m. If you want to give the show a call, because we let you do that, 810-207-1764 or Final Encounter Cast on Skype. We're standing by to take your call. Excited to have you along. We got a lot of news to talk about. This has been a busy week, not just for us personally, not just us as a production unit, but for games in general. So we got a lot to talk about. Joining me today, of course, I've got the Final Encounter Cast crew. Nika, what's going on? How you doing?
Good.
Callie?
Good.
Doing great.
Chris? Fat?
Do it naked?
No, you can't. And Robbie, what's up, dude?
What up? Got some big news today.
I know, right?
I'm so excited.
Lots to talk about. We're going to start today by letting you guys know, again, we've got this new show that we've been working on, and working on it. We've been working on it really, really hard now for...
it feels like forever.
I know, it does. We're going...
Nate forgot to eat yesterday. That's how hard he's working.
We're going into our 13th week of shows. Which, I mean, Jesus, that's a lot.
But we've been working on it for a lot longer than that.
October.
Right.
No, even longer because we
that.
debuted our first demo in October.
That's right. Yeah. And we're super excited. It's called Checkpoint Radio. If you haven't checked it out yet, checkpointradio.com is where you can do that. We invite you to check that out. We are excited to announce, we announced this a couple of weeks ago, but we are partnering with Westwood One. And we've got a couple of new affiliates that are coming along with that. The majority of my weekend has been spent re-imaging the show, making all new intros and outros and rescoring everything. So this new show,
video game news segments.
Yeah, that's eventually definitely going to happen.
But it will live on here.
You were so bummed out that we're losing that on Checkpoint.
Because, all right, look, now Nate seems to think I only like it because he hates it, and that's not true. I do actually like it, but the fact that he hates it is an added bonus. So when I hear it, I get to simultaneously feel my happiness, but also see his disdain, which gives me more happiness.
So even if he liked it, you would still like it, but that he hates it certainly doesn't hurt anything.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, so that was the majority of my day. Yesterday was working oh my God, dude, I'm so tired. I have to be honest with you. I am so burnt out from that.
You think you might have mono again?
No, I'm just... I'm not firing on all cylinders today. Let me just say that. When you work on something for like 12 solid hours, 12 uninterrupted hours, I like by the end of it, the muscles in my shoulder were totally frozen.
You nailed them though, dude. I gotta tell you, you really did.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, by the way, if you're a member of our LB Army that we've been growing over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio, you'll actually be able to be among the first to hear that in our new Green Room video.
Yep, that'll go up tonight.
Yeah, Callie had not heard the new imaging, so we played a couple of examples for him and shared that in the room, and so subsequently sharing it with you over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio, which is, by the way, completely separate from Checkpoint. Checkpoint is its own thing that, and with the patron, that is how we continue to do Limit Break Radio and Final Encountercast. So if you like this show and you want to see more episodes of it made, make sure you head on over to patreon.com/Limit Break Radio and give us just even $1 of support. Or $1 will get you access to the Green Room videos and additional content. So one of the things that we've started doing here on the channel is after an episode wraps up, after Limit Break Radio wraps up, we'll take and we'll play the latest episode of Checkpoint on through Twitch. And if you want to join us for that, we invite you to join us. Stick around here. That starts usually at around like 7-ish. And our patron members are actually getting full episodes of Checkpoint before anyone else. So we will have, starting this week, we will have Checkpoint on demand over at checkpointradio.com, as well as the exclusive Checkpoint podcast. Both of those launch this week. So if you want to hear full episodes of Checkpoint, you can do that. Like you're going to be able to do that over at checkpointradio.com. Everyone's going to be able to do that. And we'll also have the exclusive podcasts. So you guys make sure that you check out checkpointradio.com, bookmark it, and subscribe to the podcast when it hits the website live later this week.
Do we know when our first podcast is actually going to go out?
I don't, to be honest with you. I actually don't know when it's scheduled to hit.
Is that up to Westwood One?
Yeah, because the thing is that this is the first time that we have ever relied on somebody else to manage our podcast feed. Right. Like we've always done it super DIY, where we're uploading to our own servers, and even through Checkpoint, when those files are distributed, they're distributed in mostly through our servers and through our websites, and we're in control of a lot of that. But with Westwood One stepping in, now we're having to submit content on deadlines to them and to their services, including the podcast. And so, the very first episode of the podcast will go up this week, although we're not sure exactly where yet to direct you to. It will probably be through Westwood One servers and through their website, but we'll definitely have links to it and more info over at checkpointradio.com. So
the origin story.
Yeah, that's right. So on the first episode of the Checkpoint podcast, we go through and kind of detail. We've done it a few times
here and there,
through our various shows, whether it be on this one or through Limit Break Radio. But talk about the origins of how we all kind of started working together as a podcast and production crew, and how that has subsequently grown and grown and grown over time into now the opportunity that is Checkpoint.
Oh man, we're like the Spider-Man of podcasts. They've heard our origin story so many times. I don't think anybody cares.
Well, but the thing is, and the thing that I find interesting about telling our origin story is that it is much more like in line with a band. You know what I mean? Like,
so long as we can all agree that Callie is the Uncle Ben.
I died for the story to continue.
Well, I mean, if you believe our fanfics, that's not. That's not that.
I think just the way that you're number 6 is enough sacrifice, I think.
That's a completely different podcast. There's no continuity here with Callie dying, okay?
So it is just like Marvel. The continuity is all over the place.
Exactly, yeah. We have a shared universe. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of the canon around the show.
The LBR extended universe.
That's right, yeah. Anyway, so we're super excited about that. We hope that all of you guys, if you're big fans of Final Encountercast, that you've been checking out Checkpoint Radio, and if you have, we'd love to know what you think of it. We want to thank all of our fans who have been so supportive and who have been giving us feedback already, and we also want to thank those fans that have gone even the extra distance beyond that to reach out to their local radio stations or sports talk radio radio stations and say, hey, we want Checkpoint on your station. So I think that's really cool, and shout out to anyone who has done that. That's a big help, guys. So thank you for helping us to grow this. It's been a really fun project, and so we're super excited to take this into the future and see where it ends up going. So all right, let's check out what's going on in the news.
I'm here to do the news tonight.
And that's the way the news goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news.
Here's a story that's out of this world.
Well, the Switch's library looks to be ready to grow by leaps and bounds as the Rainway app will be making its way to the eShop. Developer Andrew Sampson said that a beta for the app, which allows users to stream PC games to any console with it, is hopefully coming next month.
Don't believe it.
I was going to say, they don't even have Netflix on the Switch yet. You think this is going to survive?
Don't believe it.
But that's the thing. Wait, how is it? I'm confused. How do you think that it's not going to survive and make the comparison to Netflix? Exactly.
Well,
because I think this is one of the profoundly dumbest things that you've ever said.
No, look, I'm not saying
in the history of this show.
I'm not saying that it isn't a great thing. You're absolutely right.
No.
It is.
But what does Netflix as an app have to do with Rainways?
This is basically giving people free reign to all these different PC games, right? You think that Nintendo's going to let this stay on the Switch?
But they've already approved the app for the Switch. If they've approved it for the shop and it's there, why would they pull it? And what does that have to do with Netflix? Exactly.
I have no idea.
Wait, you put the fucking idea together. You put the fucking idea together.
I don't know
what the fuck
goes
are you
through
talking about?
Nintendo's head and how these things happen, but the idea that it's all right, here's an app where you can just play any game you want on the Switch, and how much does it cost?
We can't even provide you with Netflix. That is saying something about their mind frame.
That says what it says is it says something about their app approval process. That's all it says.
So how does this get approved but Netflix doesn't get approved?
That's a great question,
because they are only for gaming, nothing else.
I think
game apps yes, video apps no.
Well, I think that it's a totally valid question for Nintendo. It's a totally valid question for Netflix. Maybe Nika's right. Maybe it is a choice of Nintendo's to say we don't want this to be a multimedia device. We want this to be a gaming device, which I think is very dumb and short-sighted. But if it makes it past the approval process and it makes its way to the Nintendo Switch store, then it's there. It made it through the approval process, and the status of Netflix's app has more to do with what is going on, the conversation that's happening between the two companies, Nintendo and Netflix, than anything else.
All right, so I guess the question after that is, Callie, is this a free or a paid app?
It's not listed whether or not, the beta's not even here yet. It's coming next month, hopefully.
I guess my next question on that then is, is it, if it connects through something where you access your own library of games somewhere, okay, I guess I get that. But if it's just here you go, here's just a library of games that you can just...
No, it accesses your computer to play your games.
Yeah, okay. It's cloud gaming. It's cloud gaming. And
this app lets you play any computer game ever created in the world.
Am 14 on the Switch?
Can you play 14 on the Switch with this?
It's on my
phone.
In theory, yes.
I would think so. I don't know if it'll be good, but...
because what this basically does is it takes your Switch and it turns it into an NVIDIA Shield. And it works through the same property. It works through the same technology and the same idea that Remote Play on the Vita does.
That's really cool.
You're sending the input of the controllers of the Joy-Cons back to the PC. That reads it as a controller input, and then it's basically just sending you a video stream. And the big question in there is latency.
I was just going to say, is there going to be any lag with that?
There will have to be a degree of lag. It's just, will it be manageable?
That is the question. Yeah, because
how bad is the Vita when it comes to doing remote play?
Not bad, right?
It is surprisingly usable. and that's the thing is like every time I used it, I was like, God, I'm really impressed by this, especially when it comes to something like FF14. I mean, FF14,
right?
If you're just doing something like dungeons or,
stupid podcast.
Well, but like as long as you're doing anything except raiding or anything that requires extreme timing, or if you get hit by a targeting reticle, it's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? Like as long as it's content like that, dude, you can totally do remote play, no problem. I used to farm tomes at work all the time when I had that kind of downtime at work. Now that I don't have that kind of time anymore, I find myself having to play like actual native mobile games that whose state I can suspend.
Pause,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's it.
Lots of Pokemon.
A video game released last November has been helping to map the brain's neurons. The game, which asks players to trace lines of the neuron in fuzzy images set to ambient, dreamy music, follows in the footsteps of Fold It, which sourced protein folding tasks to PS3 units that were not in use. So if anyone remembers that game that came with your PS3, this is the follow-up to that made by the same guy.
That's so cool.
With the PS3.
That's so cool. I mean,
Science.
taking ambient processing power and applying that to something. Now, this is a little bit different because it's not just ambient or inactive processing power. You're actually having to play a game to be able to participate in it. But the fact that it goes towards, towards such like an altruistic goal is pretty cool.
It's a really neat idea. Basically, what you do is you get this image of a neuron that's very scrambled, of course, and you have to trace it with your cursor. And what it does is helps teach the AIs how to do it themselves so that they can do it in the future.
So we're building Skynet now.
What?
That's exactly what I just said, word for word. Thank you.
Yep.
We've all gone to great lengths to find extra time to play video games, but a 7-year-old from Utah went the extra mile. He forged a note from his school claiming he was failing video game class and would be kicked out of school if he didn't start staying up all night playing games. He was awarded 30 extra minutes for his trouble.
I'm impressed.
What?
I'm impressed.
He's learned a valuable lesson here too.
Lying is good.
Lying will get you rewarded.
The more effort you go through, your reward in the end isn't really all that great.
I have to say,
more than what he got otherwise.
I have to say, I'm impressed with this. I think that this kid should definitely sign up for the University of Utah's Esports program.
In the making, right?
Exactly.
I thought that it's a 7-year-old because what's like 7-year-old? You have one teacher. You have like.
Yeah.
They know exactly, like your parents know exactly what classes you're in. If it was high school, maybe I could see a parent not being as connected and knowing what classes you're taking. But 7 years old, like.
I mean, and he did some good stuff.
Grade.
It was done on notebook paper, but he at least cut the notebook paper to make it look like an actual piece of paper from the school.
Oh, that is funny.
And he did sign it, the school, so I don't know how he didn't get away with it.
Wait, he signed it, the school.
The school.
Oh my God, that's amazingly adorable.
So funny.
I never find like shit that kids do adorable at all in the least, but that is like signing it, the school. Like that's one step short of like making the E backwards. It's so goddamn adorable.
10 Cent
you think all my kids were cute?
I guarantee you we wouldn't.
No, definitely not.
Tencent has struck 2 major deals with Psyonix and Ubisoft. First, they'll be working with Ubisoft to bring Might and Magic Heroes Era of Chaos to China. The mobile app is based on a series popular worldwide since 1995. And secondly, Rocket League will also be coming to China, with Psyonix and Tencent working to translate the game as well as design a free-to-play model for it. Tencent is planning to introduce a global professional league for the game in the future.
I mean,
holy shit! I want to play Era of Chaos to China. That sounds like the best game ever with Heroes and Might.
What?
He's not
Might
understanding.
and Magic Heroes Era of Chaos to China.
It's coming to China.
That's what it means.
To China is not in the title.
Chaos to China.
Oh, that's not the
game
setting?
Is coming to China.
No.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
They're bringing an existing game to China.
Let's go ahead and focus on the bigger part of this story, which is that they're going to be bringing friggin' Rocket League to China, which is already at 30 million. Imagine when that catches on in China.
Oh, yeah. And
they are going to be able to print their money.
Well, and they're adopting a free-to-play model, which is, like, as popular as that might be here, it is popular popular in China. Like, you have to run on free to play if you can.
Yeah. Well, still, money.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what is Might and Magic Heroes.
I don't know. Like, this is a mobile game. I remember the original Might and Magic Heroes.
That was like,
I remember those on console.
Wasn't that a 3DO game?
Was the original one 3DO? It might have been.
I think it was. I think it was because that was their two big series. It was 3D. It was. God damn! Someone chat correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was 3DO though.
But I think their two big series was Might and Magic, and the other one was what is it? Army? The Army's Hero? Something like that. Was the Army Men game?
Army Men.
Sarge's Heroes?
No.
Well, Sarge's Heroes was an Army Men game.
It was an Army Man game, but no. This was like
it was the Zelda games. Excuse me, Princess. That was their other big title.
Was it really?
Well, I mean, wasn't that 3DO?
It might have been. That might have been the
one where it's got the animated Zelda or animated Link who sounds like an asshole.
I thought that was Panasonic.
Panasonic 3DO.
Was that it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm crazy. I thought
think
it was
you
that
are.
system. Anyway, in a strange bit of news, Burger King in Spain is launching a video game food delivery service for a few weeks in May. The idea is that registered PSN users can play a game against a pro while giving them their Burger King order, and the food can be delivered to them while they're getting thrashed.
There.
If successful, the idea will be rolled out to more franchises.
There. You see, Fat? We kept one of your food-related articles in the news.
It was the CDI. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chap.
Thank you, not 3DO. I was actually shocked that you kept the 7-year-old article I threw in there. I just keep on throwing fake articles in there, and they fake articles. Sometimes they get through. I don't know.
And Chris is like, I'm determined to make this fake news.
Dude, an article about Burger King letting you play against a pro gamer while you give them your Burger King order? You think I'm not going to keep that in? That's amazing. Those weird as hell, but amazing.
My question is,
I didn't throw this one in.
Wait a minute, hang on.
I didn't throw this one in.
Is this real?
This is real. This is a real thing happening in Spain.
Thing.
Oh yeah, this is a real thing happening in Spain.
What kind of slump must these pro gamers be going through to agree to a deal like this?
Okay, so I'm confused. You order Burger King
right while you're playing this pro gamer, and then they deliver it to you.
The pro gamer?
No, not the pro gamer. You continue playing against the pro gamer. The Burger King delivers it to you.
And Burger King, so you get Burger King while you get owned.
While you're getting wrecked.
You have to be playing against those pro gamers to get it.
To do the pro, yeah, that's the whole thing. Is you you sign up to do it on your PSN account, and then you get pick which game you're playing. You get matched in with a pro player, and while you're getting your ass handed to you, they deliver Burger King, so that when you lose, at least you can have Burger King at the end.
Who came up with this idea?
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I think it's genius from Burger King's standpoint, but it's dumb from
it's not even
great. No, this is great because now you have Burger King delivery.
No, it's good. Not even for Burger King. It's good for the pro gamers because now they're getting more exposure to players who probably never have heard of them before. So it's good for their exposure, but for everyone else.
It is objectively the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, but I love it.
You should be practicing as a pro gamer, not have a part-time job playing against noobs as they're having their food delivered. They actually said in the article, if this proves to be lucrative, we're going to expand it. Good luck finding enough pro gamers who are going to subject themselves to this kind of bullshit.
Hey, if Burger King hands them a sack of money and says, "Hey, now you don't even have to perform that well. Just be better than scrubs."
I was going to say
that's probably not a horrible gig.
They're probably not actually pro gamers.
They're probably
just better than
semi-pro.
average.
Yeah.
What do you get if you beat the pro gamer?
It didn't list anything. I assume nothing. Bragging rights. I do think you should get your food for free if you beat them.
Either that, or a sundae or something. Maybe a cherry icy.
A cherry icy for beating a pro FIFA player. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get to choose the game?
There's 4 that you can pick from right now, and I think one of them is the GTA multiplayer, which is weird. But yeah, I don't know. Anyone who gamed in the 90s has probably heard of Night Trap. The controversial game was one of the core reasons the ESRB ended up being formed, and now it's making a comeback. The game will be releasing on PS4 and Xbox One later this spring, and will even be sporting a physical release. Who misses Night Trap?
This is the original Night Trap.
Yeah,
This is so dumb.
The original Night Trap. It's awesome.
It's gimmicky as shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's gimmicky as shit. But look at it this way. Now you can play Night Trap without having to own a Sega CD, which is really the gift that keeps on giving.
But why?
What is Night Trap?
Night Trap was a game in the 90s where basically it was like a slasher flick almost.
It was more of like a click and point type of thing.
Yeah, it was a click and point thing. But you had to, but
it was live action. It was live action. It had actual actors in it.
Yeah, and you were supposed to like save the girls from getting murdered, but most people didn't. They just let them die to watch the scenes, and it was awful.
Oh yeah,
this
it
was
completely terrible.
One of the 3 games that was brought in front of Congress by Jack Thompson and company.
Mm-hmm.
See, it would have been completely like no one would have remembered this game ever if it wasn't for the fact that it was like brought as a part of the ESRB thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Resident Evil 7 shocked many earlier this year as Capcom, in the eyes of many, righted the ship with the Resident Evil franchise. While many have been looking forward to the game's Not a Hero DLC, will unfortunately have to wait a bit longer. The DLC has been delayed from its late spring launch window to a later, as of yet, unconfirmed date. The game's producer stated the reason for the delay was, in their eyes, the DLC did not live up to the quality the main game set, and they wanted to work on it further.
Hey, asshole! You guys suck!
I think this is probably a smart move, especially because Resident Evil 7 was so well received. I think, now that you have gone to such great lengths to pull yourself out of the hole that the franchise had worked itself into, that why would you end up burning that goodwill?
You just got everyone
with
back.
your first
Don't lose
DLC
them again.
injection.
Well,
exactly.
yeah, and traditionally, I mean, if you look at video games, honestly, when you delay something to make sure that it's up to snuff, I think in most cases, people are going to applaud you for that, so long as you don't pull a Kingdom Hearts and you just keep delaying over and over and over and over again.
I think everyone gives a game like one delay. Like if you have your launch date and you say, hey, you know what? It's not quite where we want it to be. We're got to delay it. Most people are going to be like, great, go make the game good. But it's when you come back the next time around and again, they're like, it's still not ready. Well, then people start wondering, all right, what is so wrong with this game on the second time through?
Or if you delay it and when it finally does come out, it still sucks.
Yeah, if you delay a game and it comes out still bad, that's not a good place to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. A report from the UK's National Crime Agency has found that cheat codes and mods lead young gamers towards a life of cybercrime. While that sounds utterly ridiculous, more reasonably, the study also found that online tutorials for remote Trojans, DDoS attacks, and other malware is also linked. Gee, I wonder which one of those is the bigger influence.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really that surprised. Like, I mean, it's first of all, the study is kind of silly, but on another level, though, like you've got to think that if because I see some of the logic here, right? Like, if you are hijacking assets that you've never paid for, and you're using that to flip a game that you make even, $20-$50 off of, I mean, to me, that does start to flirt with the idea of cybercrime. Now, the thing is how wide is your definition of cybercrime? If you have traded an MP3 over the internet, is that a cybercrime?
Not?
Some people would say that it is. I don't know that it is. I don't know that I would be that extreme about it.
Is jaywalking a crime?
Right. You wouldn't download a car. Like,
You would download if I could.
I mean,
if I could download a car, I might.
But the thing, and so, like I do see some of the logic that's being applied here. And yeah, maybe, but I think at some point, like, kids are going to be kids. They're going to want to get access to whatever is interesting them, whether that is computer code, whether that's hardware. Like kids have a natural tendency to take things apart and to learn about them.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, like, if you have a kid who's really interesting in making mods or, trying to get into adjusting the code of a game, I think that is a much more entrepreneurial and innovative spirit than it is a detriment or like a obvious link
indicator.
or push towards cybercrime.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do see the point there that once you have those skills, some kids are going to end up realizing, wait, I can use these skills in
make money.
other ways. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, but that's the thing though, is that you do end up using those skills in a lot of ways moving forward, but is that a bad thing? I think that you need to have training in some departments, and if you have the natural inclination to be an engineer and take things apart and break them down like that, then why stifle that, even if it does? See, what this says to me is this is a whole bunch of companies that want to protect their IPs, that don't want anyone, including kids, to be screwing around with whatever is inside of the piece of electronic that you just bought, right? And so in a way, this does seem to also be a way for them to say, this is definitely, like, if your kids get into modding, then they're definitely going to get into stealing people's identities on the internet. Like, it does seem to want to draw that same logical conclusion as well.
In like 50 years, we're going to have like legalize it t-shirts, but in reference to modding.
Right. And but we've already talked
420 mod every day.
We've already talked about the right to repair, and this is an issue that is moving forward quite a bit, and it impacts people's ability to to either conduct the business that they want, or to just to be able to fix the goddamn things that they own. I think that all of that is probably pretty necessary, especially in 2017, especially when electronics are as ubiquitous as they are.
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite officially has a release date. In addition to a story trailer that shows the universes colliding, Capcom has announced the game will launch on September 19th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC.
Quote unquote.
And Switch, thanks to PC.
Quote unquote story trailer. Ultron and Sigma? Is that the big bad guy? Basically,
Sigma from Mega Man?
Yeah, they basically they do like a fusion and become Ultron Sigma, and then it just shows all of the heroes trying to fight him, but nothing works, and he's just like, ah. And then at the very end, when he's crushing Mega Man's head, someone shoots him, and he turns around, he goes, "Welcome, Redfield," and it's like Chris from Resident Evil or whatever, and I'm like, that's the big buildup. You're fighting like Thor and Mega Man and Captain America and Captain Marvel, and then a dude with a gun shows up with some police training.
This seems really fucking stupid.
He's the leader of Stars.
No, because it's Chris.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, I take that back. It was who's the Kennedy? Leon. It's Leon. Fuck you. Chris's suck.
Take that.
Leon has a sword, so it makes sense. Leon from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, I hate you. Okay, anyway. Atlas Games have revised their rules on streaming Persona 5 and also issued an apology for how their original guidelines came across. Quote, "To our surprise, when we then saw numerous reactive news articles go up, opinion video posts, and received many emails asking us to please change our Persona 5 streaming and video policy. We recognize that our fans are the reason why the game is the major worldwide success it is, and we continue to want them to be able to enjoy the game without fear of being spoiled. However, we also heard your issues with the guidelines and have decided to revise them. Because we want to give players the most access to the game while respecting their original goal, we're now asking players to refrain from streaming or posting past the end of the in-game dates of 11/19 when the main story gears up for the final act."
Come on, Atlas.
We also want to apologize to those of you who saw the previous guidelines blog post as threatening. We want to be transparent about what we do, and the reason we released the guidelines was to give streamers the right information up front. It was never our intention to threaten people with copyright strikes, but we clearly chose the wrong tone for how to communicate this.
Sorry.
There's still, but
why can't people just put spoilers in their tag? Like, spoilers, I'm streaming the end of Persona, so that if you know, like, right in their title, so that if you don't want to see spoilers, you just don't click on it.
That's what I've been doing.
This is exactly the. Okay. Yeah. Nika, you're exactly right. But Atlas undercuts their apology in tone by just moving the goalpost. All they did was say don't stream past 7.7, and now they're going, well, just don't stream past 11.19.
So my question is, because I know that there were people who got hit with strikes and takedowns and stuff. So now that they have pushed it back, do those people get their channels undone? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
So they're just still screwed.
Yeah.
Great.
Because they
Thanks,
streamed
Atlas.
illegally during the time where those were
streamed illegally.
Not illegally, but against their terms.
Okay.
They streamed against their terms when those terms were the current terms, and they still broke.
You wouldn't stream a car, okay?
But the thing, I don't. That's the thing, though. I don't think you can reasonably write these kinds of terms into your terms of service. Like, there's no software licensing agreement that says, you know what I mean? Like, this is completely unenforceable, except for if YouTube and Twitch are complicit with the complaints. And what I said from the beginning is, more so than Atlas, I think that YouTube is really the one to be held responsible. Yeah. Atlas can throw out as many spurious and bullshit and nonsense copyright strikes that it wants, but it's YouTube and Twitch and the mediums to where these streams and uploads are happening that have to be the jackbooted thugs that end up executing these orders. So if YouTube just goes, nah, fuck you, like, I think that's complicit. That should be on YouTube to be able to step in and mediate this situation.
But why would YouTube do that for the consumer?
That's a very good question at this point. It's hard to see YouTube doing much for the consumer these days.
That's actually, yeah, you know what? That actually is a good question.
I asked it.
I don't.
That's why it's a good question.
I don't know that there's an answer for that. It seems like all of YouTube's decisions lately have been against their content creators and their consumers. So unless YouTube thinks that they can take their company in a different direction, unless they think that they can take their business in a different direction, I honestly don't know what they're doing. But I think that all of this is going to be to their detriment, especially the fact that they are actually impacting people's livelihoods and bottom lines now with their monetization plans and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're going to see an exodus from YouTube here. I mean, if we're not already in the middle of it. But yeah,
it just seems to me like this is one step removed from them saying well, you can't have any friends over to watch while you play.
Right?
Aren't we only at this point one step away from that? You have to have your PS4 camera on at all times so that we can make sure there's no one else in the room watching with you.
Or it would be the equivalent of buying a movie and being you can't watch this with friends unless they buy the movie too.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Right. No, that doesn't make sense.
Well, you can't take a movie out to a big screen and just display it for everyone to see. That's a public showing.
That's true. You can't do that.
Streaming the same thing?
Now, to be fair, hang on. To be fair, that's actually a really good point, because you can't do the same thing with OBS that you do with a video game with a movie, right? You can't set up a window capture for something that you're watching on Netflix, stream that out to YouTube, talk over it, and then have people in your chat room talk back to you, right? It would be kind of like a DIY Mystery Science Theater 3000, but you can't do that because of the music or because of the movie licensing issues, right? They want to be paid for that.
Well, also, you can't do that because of what the intrinsic value of a movie versus a video game is. The intrinsic value of the movie is captured no matter how you watch the movie.
That's true, too.
The video game, there's always the intrinsic value of playing it yourself. You get a different experience than just watching someone.
And that's true. That's true. But there is also an intrinsic value to narrative. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that's why Let's Plays are a thing. I know a lot of people who certain genres of games they just can't play because they're bad at it, and some games don't put in that narrative mode, so they watch Let's Plays instead. So now, what if someone just really doesn't like the play style of Persona but likes the story? Now cannot complete, they can watch 1 through 4 on YouTube, but now can't complete watching 5 because they're not allowed to post past 11 whatever. That's stupid.
Well, and not just that, but if you are a game developer and you're looking at Let's Plays, if you're looking at the main value of your game as the narrative value, and it's not even like you don't even feel like the game is the thing that people are getting when they plop down their $60, you think that the reason that they're plopping down the $60 is because of the narrative, then I think you start to see some of the psychology behind some of these development studios that will come out and do things like Atlas has done, because I think what that says is this is a big defense of our narrative. Our narrative is the thing that is worth defending, right. And similar to the way that the incentive behind seeing a movie is removed once you know the big plot twist, Atlas is saying the same thing, and the way that they're trying to enforce it, I feel like is kind of the same way that, like, if movies were like, yeah, you can restream our movies, but you can't restream the end. Like, none of this makes sense.
Right. It should be kind of an all or nothing thing. And if you're if you're going to go after YouTube, I better not see a wiki page with a plot synopsis that goes all the way to the end. That should be something you pounce on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When I actually started playing Persona, this whole thing made even less sense to me because there are so many, like, really huge, like, in some cases, devastating plot hooks along the way that happened way before any of these dates that they put in there.
Yeah. It's a small victory to have Atlas kind of walk back a little bit, but they needed to walk it back completely. Like,
or go all the way and say, just don't stream our game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
don't stream the North American game.
That's the other thing is that this is really just for North America, which is really confusing. But really the other thing is that they're trying to. That's really what Atlas is trying to do here. Is that they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to promote their game.
I hate that phrase. Please don't ever use that phrase. If you have a cake, why wouldn't you fucking eat it? Of course you're going to eat your cake if you have one.
The cake is not for you, Nika. You made a cake for someone else.
No.
You didn't say make a cake, eat it. You said have a cake.
No, Nika. What the phrase means? Okay, I can't believe I'm breaking down. I can't believe I'm breaking down colloquialisms here on the show.
She can't even do improv. How would you explain a colloquialism?
You can't even say it.
It's much different between people to understand something and being able to think of something on the spot.
What the phrase means, Nika, is you can't have a beautifully decorated cake and keep it completely beautifully decorated and also eat it. That's what it means. Like, you can't keep...
Sure you can.
No, you can't.
It's then beautifully decorated in your stomach.
No, it's mush in your stomach.
But that's the point. That's the point. There are some people who would sit there and have massive anxiety over, like, oh, but it's so beautiful, I can't eat it, but I'm so hungry, I want to.
That is a small minority of people.
But that's what the phrase means. But that's what Atlas is trying to do here is. What their policy does is fly in the face of what they need their promotional department to do, or the point of promoting the game has.
Mm-hmm. Callie brings up a good point, though. Like, even though they've rolled this back, they've changed nothing about the restrictions on the PS4 streaming or screenshots, for that matter.
And again, it's only until 11/19. Like. That you're just walking the goalpost in a little bit further. That's it. That's all you're doing. It still doesn't fundamentally address the problems of how do you think that you can administer this? How do you think that this is justifiable? And they've had to come out and address the negative response that it's elicited. But at the same time, they seem like they've been able to enforce it.
Well, and what we're eventually going to come up to is, like, we're going to get the answer to the question I think that's been asked by video game developers for a while is our Let's Plays worth it marketing-wise? Are we actually picking up enough out of a Let's Play to make it worth it? Because if you look at something like, Outlast or a horror game, most people who watch a Let's Play of it have no intention of ever buying the game or playing it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there is, like, for those people, there is got to be an element of, I don't really care if I piss you off because I won't allow my game to be Let's Played. You were never going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, maybe, but I also know quite a few people that because of Atlas's stance, they straight up said, I was going to get this game, now I don't want to support that company.
Then that's fair. I mean, like, it's all about looking at the numbers and seeing what bears
and
out
reward.
eventually.
Yeah.
Teenage hacker Adam Mudd was sentenced to 2 years in prison after creating software used in hacks against Microsoft and Sony. He was also found guilty of carrying out 594 DDoS attacks and made roughly 386,000 euros selling his code Titanium Stressor.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll bet you he did a lot of modding when he was a kid.
I bet he used a Konami code and everything.
Yeah, he used cheat codes all day, every day, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, you know, based on those stats, like how much money he made and all those DDoS attacks.
Up, down, down, left, right, BA, start.
Nice.
30 lives.
Wow.
Does 2 years kind of seem low to you guys?
2 years does seem a bit low to me.
You don't understand the gravity of a situation.
The judge actually begged to differ with that. The judge actually, even though it was weird too, because he was like very stoic and just like whatever as he was being sentenced, and the judge was straight up like, I think you full on knew that what you were doing wasn't a game, and yeah, you're going to jail for this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I'm sure that he's already been picked up by some kind of technology firm and is making $1 bajillion, so he'll be able to just have a soldering set and a jail cell and figure out some really amazing stuff.
Soldering set? No, he's going to install a PC in the ceiling.
fair enough. A new tool for the Unity set will allow developers to place a merch shop into any game they're developing. While designed with the mobile gaming in mind, the idea is interesting as players could buy real-life merchandise from a storefront in the game that they're playing. Beyond that, the developer can lock merch behind progress achievements, for instance, a shirt you can only buy if you've beaten the game.
This seems, I'm very split on this.
This is still my favorite news story of the week. I love this.
I don't know how I feel. Like there is a part of this that says, like it kind of blurs the distinction between digital exclusivity and actual physical product exclusivity, and kind of gives you an achievement to shoot for if you really want this really cool shirt. But at the same time, though,
I'll just go on Etsy and someone already has it on their store, so I'll buy it there.
But at the same time, like, it seems like, oh man, this is really you put this in the hands of EA or Ubisoft, and this could get ugly.
All right. Well, first of all, to Chris's point, where you can just go online and buy stuff. Well, that's fine. You already have a bunch of people that will go online to buy merch for their favorite game. But the more steps you put into getting something, the less likely people are going to follow it. And now at this point, by putting an actual NPC character shop in game that everyone's going to go up to and talk to and be like, oh, I can order this stuff to me in real life, you're now hitting 100% of your target audience.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's something to be said for it being official merch too, as opposed to something third party made on Etsy.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that does sort of strike at this idea that, like, we're tired of portions of the game that would otherwise be there being nickeled and dimed out of us after we've already spent the $60.
Right.
Well, if we get a full product at the $60 price point, and then what they're selling us once we're inside the game is actual physical products, I think that actually kind of changes the nature of the exchange a little bit as well.
See, because of people like EA, or like when you look at like For Honored, I think that's what gives this idea of microtransactions a bad name, is that you have to pay in order to play this game more. But then when you look at stuff like the way that, Blizzard does Overwatch, you don't have to buy loot boxes. That is completely optional stuff. And people throw down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, which also benefits the game. So microtransactions or in-game purchases can still do good things for games, especially when you look at the ballooning market or the economy of the AAA gaming and how are we going to make more money?
It's true. I mean, and they've got that whole problem of like, we've spent so much money on this that we've got to sell 300 million copies of it to be able to make the budget back. And the thing is that as games keep getting more and more complex, yes, there are tools to deal with some of that, right? Like to automate some of that work, but not all of it. You still have to end up placing objects in environments until things like what was the technology that was used for No Man's Sky? I can't remember.
The repeating algorithm thing?
Procedural generation?
Procedural generation, thank you. Until procedural generation ends up, advancing to the point where it's the norm instead of this kind of like new crazy development tool.
New tech.
Exactly. Yeah. Like until it changes to that point, I just don't know.
Immortal shot caller Verbo had a rough trip to the professional scene. Like so many, his parents weren't thrilled with the idea of him foregoing college to pursue a career as a professional gamer. They even took away his modem, forcing him to go without practice. He used his phone to grab pictures of maps and formulate strategies, and just as he was giving his parents an ultimatum that he wouldn't attend college, he got a tryout for Immortals. He made the team, and the rest is history. This was a really cool little piece on this person that I knew nothing about him before I read it.
Reading this story really reminded me, that I'm never going to go pro because, this kid basically spent his time still immersed in Overwatch, even though he couldn't play it. Like, looking at pictures of maps and, like, coming up with different strategies that he could give his team, based on different stuff. And, like, that, even in traditional sports, like, that's what you do. If you're not playing, you're still in the game.
Yeah.
And also the fact he's, 16 or 17? And he's like the team shot caller. Like that's a lot of responsibility.
Well, and that's the thing is like what he was forced to do, learning every detail of every map and coming up with strategies. What better training to be a shot caller for your team?
That's actually a pretty good point. If you're not able to play and all you have is external materials to look at, then you're going to be formulating strategy. You're also going to you're going to be able to memorize that map. I mean, like it's kind of crazy how much removing yourself from the environment ends up having some kind of beneficial back end to
Restriction breeds creativity.
But I mean, like this, I think that this just kind of goes to when parents hold their kids back from doing the things that they want to, a lot of times I think we being younger or being on the child end of the spectrum far more than the parent side of the spectrum, that our reaction to that shit is always like, oh, well, that's what you get for discouraging your kids.
Right? Like, I hope when he gets, like, his first big check and his parents want a cut of it, he's like, remember that time you took my modem away?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really like money.
Exactly. I mean, but it's like, at the same time, though, I think every parent kind of has a little bit of that. For as much as my parents really encouraged me creatively and to pursue, things like talking into a microphone for my future, right? Like, while they encouraged that, they also really discouraged things like my interest in hip hop or the
things that shaped you, basically,
or the amount of time that I was putting in towards video games. And it's when I was visiting with them the other week, I had to remark to them, I was like, isn't it funny that I'm doing what I said I wanted to do at 15, right? But like, isn't it funny that the two things that I do that about are the two things that you really tried very hard to dissuade me from having interest in? There's
this really great vindicating feeling because I will point this out to my grandma every time. I talked to the other day, I'm like, on my radio show the other day, I actually I forgot what I said, but I'm like, basically I told everyone that you used to try to keep me away from playing video games and I made fun of you. And she's like, what? Why would you do that? And I'm like, because it was topical.
Because you're a bad person.
And I think if you're a parent, there's always that delicate line to walk because you obviously want to encourage your kid to do what makes them happy and to, go for their dreams. But you also, when you are a parent and you're in your 30s or 40s, you know that the world doesn't always work that way. You've probably experienced it to some degree in your own life, and you want a degree of them having something do something that you can succeed at.
Sure.
And be an accountant.
And make money.
Because that's really done really well for you, hasn't it, Chris?
Well, I mean, I look at it with my parents. I told them when we were starting the idea of Checkpoint and trying to do Limit Break Radio full time, I told them, I think we've got something here. I think it's great and I want to go for it. And they were supportive of that. They said, you know what? We'll give you, it was at the time, it was 18 months. Yeah. And if in 18 months you can prove it's viable, good, go for it. Right. If not, then we need you to start pursuing something else. And I said, okay.
As a parent too, though, I think there's also just maybe this like sort of, internal sort of voice that kind of speaks against the idea of sitting in and playing video games. I mean, there was even a penny arcade once where, Gabe's son was playing for like hours and hours on end, and he's like, don't you think maybe you should go outside for, oh my God, what have I become?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. There's a bit of an inclination there. There's an inclination if you're a parent to want to go, to make sure that your kid is doing what's best for them. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that as parents, I think they don't always know. You know what I mean?
You don't always know.
You can't always know. Clearly these parents had no concept at what level this kid was playing or dedicated to that game.
And we also don't know how well this kid explained it either.
How
we don't
educated they were on where video games and technology is nowadays.
Yeah.
No,
do you have to be, as a parent, do you really have to be? I mean, first of all, admit that, like, when you see most parents, they stop their growing in terms of, like, being interested in anything culturally relevant at the time their kid is born, right? So right around
Pong.
Yeah, so you basically put a pin in your interests at whatever age you have your kid or at whatever point you have your kid, and you just stay there for a while. That's why our parents' taste in music was so shitty. They had us, and suddenly they didn't have the time to go to record stores and dig through crates and do all this dumb shit that we all have time for. But at the same time, they lose connection with an entire part of the world, entire economic forces. I mean, dude, when we talk to people who are just Gen Xers, like not even our parents' age, right? Like we're talking like 10 years older than us about the idea of esports or the fact that it could be, that it can be a radio show or provide as much content for a radio show. They look at you as if you've smacked them in the face with a trout. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. They're like, what? How is this a thing? Like, how is it possible that this could do like a $1 trillion industry can just
watch you
come out of
games?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. And even people 10 years removed from what's going on right now just have no fucking idea. They have no clue.
Now, Nika, you have 5 kids now? Did you want to weigh in on this at all?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've actually got 28.
Oh, wow. You have been busy.
Senpai been busy.
You missed 28 shows? I don't think that's accurate.
No, I was referring to all my students in my class.
Oh, that's stupid.
That's what we've been talking about this in the chat. You guys aren't keeping it.
No, we're talking on our show that we do.
Yeah, why aren't you talking out loud? We do a show on the radio?
Because this isn't the same conversation. It would detract. It wouldn't make sense.
No, he's saying
because that stops Chris from talking.
He's saying be involved in the conversation that
we're involved in. Not that what the chat room. Who cares what they're talking about?
I'm blaming Surin for that. He's talking to me.
Who gives a shit what
in
the chat
room?
No.
Talks about?
I'm like,
no, I said I'm blaming Surin for not talking on the show because I had to mute my mic and listen to what he was telling me.
Oh.
Everything is his fault. Everything.
This is very true. I streamed with her on Tuesday last week, and she can be savage to him. Holy crap.
It's sad. We need to save
He's pretty savage to me, too, though, to be fair.
Fair enough. Chris Rock is enforcing a hard no cell phones policy at an upcoming show. The ban calls for cell phones to be left at home or in cars, but if you need to bring it in, they have a device called Yonder on hand for you. Effectively, it's a pouch that will lock itself by the time you get to your seat and can only be opened at an unlocking station outside the show. If you're caught with a phone, it'll be an immediate ejection.
How is it?
That's so next gen.
This is so far in the entire time that I've been working at the job that I have and doing this show, this is the only time that we've ever had an overlap in stories because I was like, oh shit, I wrote about this for my job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not horribly gaming related, but from a cell phone perspective, I thought it was really cool.
Well,
like comedians
actually,
too.
I was the one who found this article, and I kind of struggled at first because of the fact that it's not strictly gaming related. But I know that obviously, Nate, you've spoke on, not just the topic of cell phones, but this idea of, comedians and having their work being put out there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was honestly extremely interested to get your take on this.
No, I think that this is really good because cell phones have been a problem for comedians for a long time. Anytime you go see a comedian, I mean, at least in the times that I've been seeing comedians in recent memories, they always complain about the cell phone because, as one of the things that is really important about the way that a comedian hones their craft and the way that they end up becoming good is through failure. We talk a lot about failing and using that as a way to build on yourself over and over again. And comedy is this sort of really intense process of doing that again and 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 again.
So you just do it once?
No.
Oh.
Because what it takes is a process of, well, this part of the joke was funny, this part of the thought was funny, why was that funny, and then dialing it in and doing it again to get more laughs. And the only way that you know what gets laughs versus what doesn't is if you go out there and you actually do it. You can make a room full of your friends chuckle all you want, but until you get into a room full of strangers and they're suddenly staring back at you and they're going, "Make me laugh, funny man with the microphone," you don't know what that kind of expectation and pressure is like.
Well,
and so it is this. There's this very frustrating thing that cell phones have brought into every comedy club in America, and that is the ability for your failures to just
go public.
Well, to be transient, right? Like if you're a comedian, a lot of times, you would go out there and have the worst set and be like, well, at least I never get to see these guys ever again. Or at least I get to, go to the next city and try something else out.
Start over, clean slate.
Exactly. But when you have cell phones and when you have recording devices like you do and the ability to transmit that stuff as easily now as ever, it becomes a whole lot more difficult to find what's funny and for comedians to really at the core be able to do their job. What I find really interesting though with Chris Rock's decision is, here's a major comedian, like here's one of the biggest comedians, and the thing is everyone from like Rory Scovel to Jerry Seinfeld has talked about the problem of cell phones and comedy. And here's Chris Rock, one of the biggest comedians going around in our time, and he's ostensibly going out there and performing shopped material. Like this is stuff that he's taken the time in smaller clubs to already hone and craft, and it's like DVD ready material. So I think it's good. I think it's good that something like this would get a push from Chris. I think all of that is to the benefit of comedy in general. But I would like to see this happen on a much more smaller scale level and happen at like the comedy club level. That's what I would like to see. Until that starts happening, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that the problem will actually meaningfully get addressed.
Right, because obviously I kind of knew the angle that you were going to take on that. But with Chris Rock, like, okay, fine, you give a bad set, but you know what? You're still Chris Rock. Like, is anything like that really going to, affect your career?
They said the same thing about Kramer. Kramer was on Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, what could Kramer ever do? Like, he was a major network TV star until he decided to point out a table full of black people and say a whole bunch of really racist shit to them. Somebody had a video camera. His career disappeared after that.
I actually never knew that he tried doing stand-up.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why you haven't seen him since.
Look at the Michael Richards meltdown. It is ugly.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Ugly. And this is and that's like that's one of the things that incident is one that I always point to where people go, well, you start hearing people say, well, comedy needs limits and look at what it did to Michael Richards and you got to be careful of the words that you use. And the thing about Michael Richards is similar to the way do we have that Esports guy on that his meltdown. Do we have that on the news today?
I think we do.
Deller?
Is that later?
Actually, it's not, but I'll bring it up.
Okay, but no. The reason I was asking, I'll bring it up now.
Oh, okay.
So there's an esports athlete named Deller, and he was competitive in
Toronto Esports for Overwatch.
Overwatch, that's what it was. And he had this moment this past week,
26 seconds,
where he was getting pissed off at a diva in a match.
No, a widow matcher.
Widowmaker, yeah. And it thought that this player was cheating. And where did that come from?
What did I say?
Widowmaker? Matcher. That's what it was, yeah. And so he got really frustrated and started screaming like a whole line of racial slurs.
26 seconds of them.
Into the voice chat, not realizing that he was also streaming to Twitch at the same time.
How do you not realize you're streaming?
I don't know, but...
Well, is it possible someone else was streaming and it was picking up his voice? Or
No, he was live on stream.
He was streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
People were watching. His followers were watching him.
Right. So... you have people that that'll look at that and will look at Michael Richards and say, well, this is why you can't say certain things on stage, or why certain jokes are not allowed. And neither of those. What you need to understand is that neither of those incidents were jokes. Neither this neither Deller in this moment of weakness where he thought that. Someone was hacking and he was super frustrated, right? Like, he wasn't telling a joke. Mm-hmm. Michael Richards, similarly frustrated on stage, and even though you have the context of the stage and this is a stand-up act, very, very clear to tell on its face that wasn't a joke either. That was
from his heart of hearts.
That was from his, he meant that. That was some ugly shit that rose up and came out, right? And I think that having the ability to know the difference between a situation like a Michael Richards and a situation like a Daniel Tosh is really, really important and kind of key to really kind of getting down on the fundamentals of what comedy is and the way that comedians have to think about comedy in order to put food on their table.
Well, and it's one of those things where context is always key in a comedian set, and when it's just a 30-second YouTube clip, the context is usually lost.
Right.
I actually like what Dave Chappelle had to say about Michael Richards. Have you ever heard his take on that?
I probably have, but go ahead and refresh everyone.
Yeah, he's talking about the whole thing that went down with Michael Richards, and he's like, as a comedian, I had a really hard time listening to that for two different reasons, because I've been where Michael was. I've been there. I've been on stage with someone heckling me over and over again, driving me nuts. And so part of me, as a black man, I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, Michael Richards. How can you say some shit like that? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But then part of me as a comedian is like, damn, Kramer's having a rough set.
Yeah. I do remember. Now I do remember that joke.
God. I love that bit.
And that's true. I mean, it's true. And I mean, like, for as obvious as it was that was some genuine bullshit that was coming out of Michael Richards' heart, like, there is also that part where you're just like, damn, dude, he's a rough set. He's dying.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think that's really the difference, is that, should comedians be allowed to go up and say whatever they want? They should have the freedom to feel like they can say whatever they want.
Well,
but I think that we as audiences need to be smart enough and discerning enough to be able to tell the difference between jokes and the difference between someone who's letting something,
a real moment of darkness.
Exactly.
Also, isn't it part of your job as a comedian to make sure that what you're saying is coming across as a joke and not like you're sitting here really slamming?
Absolutely not. No, that's but I mean,
doesn't it make you a good comedian when people can tell you're joking?
No, that means that you are a practiced comedian that has done it in front of enough audiences to know the difference. That you have taken that joke and you've worked it to a point where now everyone thinks it's funny. That joke, most jokes that comedians tell on stage that you see for a DVD, they didn't start out that way. They started out where maybe a quarter of that joke was hitting, but the punchline wasn't. Or you know what I mean? Like,
they started out doing it on open mic night at their local bar.
Exactly. And that's how a good comedian becomes a good comedian. No one starts off as a good natural comedian. No one, except apparently Jerry Seinfeld. Like Jerry Seinfeld was.
Oh my God, no.
He's not even there yet.
He was apparently, according to him, he was apparently amazing on his first night up, and he never had a bad set. But if you hear other comedians talk about the craft of comedy, it is a repeated. It's repeated failure over and over and over again until you have marginal success, and then you take those successes and you keep moving them forward.
Oh, like Robbie's sex life.
Joke's on you. Ain't got a sex life.
Multiple failures. We're getting towards the success part.
Haven't had any failures either.
Can't have a failure if you never even tried. The new Street Fighter V Thailand temple stage has been temporarily removed due to unintended religious references. The background music for the stage makes references to Allah, and the stage is currently undergoing emergency maintenance to have the music replaced.
Oh, wow.
This is 20...
but is it like negative religious views, or?
I doubt it's saying like Allah sucks. I'm sure it just happens to make reference to it and people are pissed because it's 2017.
But if it's like a true depiction of the religion in a respectful way, what's the problem?
Because it's a true depiction and a respectful way to a religion that Christians don't like.
Well, wouldn't a Thailand temple be a Buddhist temple anyway? Why is it making references to Allah?
Maybe that's it.
Maybe that's it.
But there are so many different religious references all over the place. I remember sometime last year, one of Symmetra's skins in Overwatch caught a lot of flack because it was depicting
Hindu?
I think a Hindu goddess who is a pacifist, and here Symmetra's going around killing people. That wasn't changed.
It's 2017. Are we not over having religious musical references? I mean, is it really like, hey guys, it's the Fire Temple in Legend of Zelda all over again?
I forgot about that.
Why is this even a or
the original versions had was it Muslim chant?
Yeah, it was a Muslim prayer. Yeah.
There was another one. There was this happened much more recently. Little Big Planet it went through one of those as well.
Really?
Little Big Planet had a track on there that apparently there were musical references to something Allah-ish. And they went and nixed the track.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew about the Zelda one. I didn't know about Little Big Planet.
It's that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of Final Fantasy bosses or summons and stuff come from gods and religious origins, but those are never changed. Like especially like Shiva and a lot of those other big ones. And so why is that not an issue?
I don't know.
A U.S. district judge has shut down a bot maker in court, siding with Twitch in the case. The bot was one of the many that allow users to buy followers and viewers for their Twitch stream in order to appear more prominent or even win Twitch partnership. This particular bot was the first taken down because the name included Twitch in the domain, but the other bot makers have all been served.
Yes!
So you'll notice our viewer count is down by 30 this week. Completely unrelated.
Because we could only afford 30.
You cheap pricks. No, this is great. The way that these services started to be wielded as a weapon was pretty interesting, where people would buy bots on
opposing streamers.
So to try to get them in trouble with Twitch, and good, fine, shut them all down. Good. I'm glad.
It shouldn't be a thing that exists. You shouldn't be able to pay for viewers, especially on a system that monetizes based on your viewership.
Well, I'm just glad to see this is starting to happen all over the place. Not just with bots, but Blizzard had that win against Boston Cheat Makers over in Germany a few months ago, and I'm glad to see that this type of thing, taking out all of these sort of third-party people who are making all these different tools to make the playing field uneven, are starting to get taken down like this.
Yeah,
it's good to see.
Yeah,
can't wait until they take down ACT.
It's never going to happen. Wrong show, by the way.
Hey, continuity, LBR EU, such a thing.
To be fair, someone did point out that Chris is fat enough he spans multiple universes, so he can get away with it.
Oh, brutal.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Defend and insult.
You just going to take that?
Well, what do you want me to say? I mean, it's already out there. I've already been burned by in the chat, so hearing it out loud is not much different.
Season 2 of For Honor is on the way, and we'll be seeing 2 new classes released. The Centurion and the Shinobi will be joining the fray, along with 2 new maps, increased customization, and gameplay updates.
How are they going to give? There's 3 factions, and they're giving a new class to 2 of them?
Well, see, it makes
unbalanced.
Or is it going to 5 factions?
No, see, it makes sense because one of the classes is banned in tournaments because it's too good.
So
one gets a new one?
Wait, hold on.
Is Shinobi replacing Samurai?
No. The one that got banned was Peacemaker. The Centurion is probably part of the Knights. So now you have 2 teams have 9 or 12, and then 1 team has 13. So basically, the Samurais have a 1 class advantage. But to be fair, I think that they were the least played anyhow.
Oh, see, it's balancing.
So
great.
Wait, I mean, what game?
Yeah, that game no one plays anymore. So because we're not allowed to have fun anymore, the boxing kangaroo, Roger Jr., is being scrapped from the Western release of Tekken 7.
Good.
What?
I'll give you one guess who's behind the complaints that led to the character being removed. Our good old friends, PETA.
PETA.
Okay,
It's PETA. It's always
Are you
PETA.
kidding? That fucking character's been in the game forever, though.
What about the bear?
Strangely, Kuma the bear gets to stay, though. Tekken 7 releases stateside on June 2nd.
Okay, well,
apparently it's because the bear
is strong.
The bear would be stronger than a human.
Bear can defend itself. A kangaroo? Come on.
Have you been kicked by a kangaroo? That's lethal.
If you've ever seen
I punched a kangaroo
if there was a boxing kangaroo in real life, it would kick your. Dude, kangaroos are actually pretty vicious. Didn't we see that one where like a person attacked a kangaroo who was attacking its dog? Like kangaroos can actually do damage.
Okay, except in that video,
put boxing gloves on a kangaroo who has had boxing training, and they can totally defend themselves.
Nika, in that video, the kangaroo didn't do anything to the guy; just like stopped. So that video is a bad example. But I get their reasoning now, right? They don't want people to see Street Fighter and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go beat up a kangaroo.
Okay,
This is Tekken.
Tekken. Sorry, they don't want to. They don't want people to
Street
see
Fighter's retarded younger cousin.
But like, there's also they don't care about the dinosaur though. There's an alternate character
First of all,
where you get to play as
Nika,
little.
I'm trying to explain why they made this decision. Okay?
I like animals.
Do they not care about that though?
How many animals are in this stupid fighting
A little
game?
baby dinosaur can't defend itself, yet we can still beat that up.
Nika, you're bad at making jokes, okay? They said
I'm not trying to make a joke.
They say right in the thing, bears are stronger than humans. So if anyone looks at this game and thinks, I'm going to go fight a bear, they're in for a rough surprise.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaurs aren't real,
It's
so
a
someone
baby.
can't...
Wait,
well, they
hang on.
they're not alive. I think they're real.
Yeah, that's...
They don't okay, yes, they don't actually exist. You can't go out and recreate a Tekken fight with a dinosaur. If you go out and try and if you go out and try and recreate the fight with the bear, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you go out and recreate a fight with a kangaroo, because they're not as strong as bears, you're going to hurt the kangaroo.
That kangaroo's going to have a bad time.
I still think if you go to a kangaroo,
reasoning.
it's going to hurt you.
I think the kangaroo would beat the shit out of the average gamer.
Fuck that. I beat that kangaroo's ass.
I think a kangaroo will beat up the average gamer as well. I totally agree.
Next, so make sure you guys go to our website next week and you can see the match that we set up between Chris and a kangaroo. Start placing your bets now.
I've seen many things I didn't understand, including a video of a man wrestling a bear for no reason. Just like last year, Nintendo has confirmed they have no major E3 event planned this year. Last year, they held a Treehouse live stream, and we can probably expect something similar this time around.
Well, that was dumb.
So nothing worth even reporting on then.
Probably not.
Thanks,
You think they would at least start announcing games that were going to come out on the Switch? Because there's
No, they'll do it at their own event.
They've already announced all of them.
Yeah, they'll hold their own Nintendo Direct and announce it there.
In fact, there was an announcement that came out today about a game that's going to be on the Switch.
Yeah.
Shaq Fu.
Oh, wait, again?
Buying us? No, the new Shaq Fu is going to be on the Switch.
Shaq Fu 2?
Why is there a new Shaq Fu? Why is that a thing?
What Nika asked, why is there a new Shaq Fu game?
Because people donated over $400,000 to the Indiegogo campaign. That's why.
Didn't Shaq Fu come out in like 91? It's been like 30 years almost.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's the way Kickstarters work, is that when you get people who grew up with this as a kid who are now of the age where they have money and can pay for things, you can get people to buy in on the nostalgia.
One dude backed $35,000 for that campaign, and now Shaq is going to DJ a party for him.
Screw the rules, I have money.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
But see, now I wonder, are they actually going to try to make it a legitimately good game, or are they going to try to copy what they had in the 90s for all the nostalgia, but it's actually going to be really shit?
All I know is that the original one, the characters were just weird, made-up, no-name characters, and in the new one, I think they're going to have different celebrity characters, because in the article, they have a picture of Cyborg Arsenio Hall.
Who the fuck is Arsenio Hall?
How do you not know who Arsenio Hall is?
I don't know.
Is it an actor?
He's Chris.
Oh my God. Have you never seen Coming to America?
Oh, the one with
No.
Yeah.
No, give it
Come on, he's going to get there. I see it. It's on the tip of his tongue.
Martin?
Martin?
Martin
Something
Lawrence?
No. The black dude.
I think he is talking about Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
That is it.
Martin Lawrence is a black actor, but he's
definitely not in Coming to America.
No, he's not.
No. You want to try again? do we want to give him any clues?
No, I don't particularly.
It's not Will Smith, is it?
No.
Hold on.
Hang on.
If it was Will Smith, is this pre or post Bel Air?
Well, pre.
Oh, okay.
Chris is just going to start naming all of the black people that he knows, right?
it's not
That's
Morgan
just how this is
Freeman.
going to work.
Not Morgan Freeman.
He was way too old for that movie.
Okay, it's not Will Smith, though. Do you want to try again?
Can I get like initials?
No.
No, it'll give it away.
No. Definitely can't.
You think on it, okay? You let us know when you have a guess.
See,
Don't give him time. He's going to Google it. Don't let him do that.
But
Wesley Snipes. No.
It was actually said in the chat, and you still said the wrong name.
No, you're right. This is actually a prequel to Blade. Congratulations.
There you go. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know. Actors.
How? Oh my God.
Up until like last year, you didn't know any of the Pokemon beyond Gen 2, okay? So I don't want to hear any of this shit.
Okay, but here's the difference.
I'm kind of okay not knowing that.
Here's the difference. He would fess up to that. He wouldn't try and fake his knowledge of Gen 2 Plus.
I also
Do you think I'm trying to...
I also wouldn't try to make jokes based off of my knowledge of Pokemon.
Eddie Murphy, that's who it was.
Oh my God.
I would not have gotten it if you said EM.
Oh my God.
I was really close with Martin, though.
No, you weren't.
There's an M in
They
it.
both start with M.
By the way, I just
But Martin is... Yeah, no.
just a mile down the road is the building that they used to use for external shots for Martin.
Would you have gotten it if I...
That's true. That's a very true statement. Yeah,
Really?
the TV show. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Would you have gotten it if I had said Mushu?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
I thought that was good.
I would have thought. Yeah. Well,
What
see,
about
but
Donkey?
Donkey.
Donkey's
You'd
too
gotten that,
obvious.
right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten the name, though. I mean, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I know they were connected, but...
All right. So, yeah, we were talking about Nintendo at some point, and speaking of them, they randomly announced a 2DS XL is on the way.
What the fuck is this?
The system is quite literally a 3DS, except without the 3D slider, and the camera is now being moved to the joint between the base and the screen. The system's going to retail at $150 and is coming in late July.
A 2DS is already huge, though.
Let me just explain why this bothers me. Is because they put the 2DS out at all. Because that thing looks like the most retarded handheld system that you've ever used. It's a block and with like...
But this one can this
so
one flip?
fucking bad.
Can this new one flip?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go.
Wait, so it's
that's what
literally
I'm
a
saying.
3DS
Like,
without the 3D slider?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what the original 2DS should have been.
Exactly. That's what I was
original
working
2DS
towards.
was a monster.
Okay, well, they're making steps towards rectifying the situation.
Okay, my thing is, okay, the Switch is out now. There's also rumors of a mini Switch, so it's smaller.
This is
so
the big
why
thing,
are we still? Why is Nintendo still putting money and effort towards a separate handheld market?
Because there's still really good games on there. And they're still succeeding in that market over everybody else.
So, first of all, that doesn't matter because there is nobody else in that market as far as I'm concerned. But why aren't you making efforts to move your collection of DS games over to your Switch?
Well, hang on. Because, first of all, they're not going to work. they're just not going to work.
Like a lot of them depend on the two screen.
Exactly. Having the double screen is, I think, the really big thing about that software. So you're not going to be able to port any of those games over, or at least not easily. Okay, that's I think your first problem. The second problem that I think Nintendo has is if they try to market the Switch, because I was thinking about this, the Switch does seem like it should be Nintendo's new handheld, and that they should be putting the marketing power towards being the new handheld. But think about the price point that it's at. Has any other handheld been at that high of a price point?
No.
Exactly.
It was what was the 3DS when it first came out?
3DS XL started at $350, I think.
No, what?
$250.
What?
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, $250.
It was
$250. Yeah, I was going to say.
But $299 is what the Switch is at, right? So that's not that much different.
$250, yeah, but it also didn't sell well until they slashed it down to $170.
The original 3DS was only $199 though, right?
Well, the original 3DS, I read an article on the way here, was $250. Did not sell well. They slashed it to $170.
Right.
Okay, well, what games were out for the 3DS when it first came out?
But that's the same problem that the Switch has right now. What good games are out for the Switch right now?
Mario Kart 8?
But Mario Kart 8's also on the Wii U, so if you have a Wii U and a Switch, you're not going to buy it again.
Right, it needs something exclusive
It needs something exclusive, which is why everyone bought one for Zelda, including myself, and now I've put it away until something else comes out.
Except Zelda wasn't exclusive either.
Yeah, okay, for starters, Nika, Zelda was also on the Wii U.
Well, right,
it's also
so
on
I know a
Switch.
lot of people
Mario
that had
Kart
a
8
Wii
is
U.
on the Wii U. It's also on the
Well, that's the
Switch,
thing,
but it
a
has
lot of
all the
people-
DLC. And you can also play it on the go, which is apparently a really big thing for lots of people.
Theory.
I mean, it is, but I do know a lot of people that have a Wii U did not buy the Switch for Zelda. They just bought the Wii U version. So, like, that is the thing, is it doesn't have a good exclusive. It doesn't have, I don't know. I think it's silly.
Nintendo had a warehouse of 3DSs sitting around and said, what if we just rip the second screen out of it and sell it as a 2DS?
No, 2DS has a screen. It says full screen.
Well, yeah, they both have.
It just doesn't have the 3D functionality.
That's what I mean, the double screen that makes the 3DS functionality.
Oh, right. Oh. I get you. Well, and I mean that theory would be kind of accurate, because if you know 3DS system collectors, one of the big things among system collectors is the screens that they use, and there is a very like Nintendo has like no like quality assurance, I don't think, because like you'll get no consistency. That's exactly it, because you'll get if you buy the exact two same 3DSs, you could
from
get
the same store.
From the same store, you could get as many as 4 different types of screens between the 2 different units.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy. It's like they're just throwing shit into like wherever they can. It's fucking crazy that they would do that. And yeah, I actually that's not the worst theory that I've ever heard. But the problem is that I think, you know, trying to move everyone from your existing 3DS mobile market onto the Switch is that, what if it fails? You know, what if
also for kids too? I feel like holding the Switch in my hand is really big. If you have like a 5-6-year-old trying to play it, it's too big for their hands.
Well, I think that was the theory behind doing the Switch Mini in 2019.
Right. Yeah.
That they could address that issue.
And
right, that's 2 years from now. So releasing a 3DS or a 2DS now is going to at least solve that issue for 2 years, and the kids that are kids right now.
Yeah, it makes a certain amount of sense to trot this out now. I just think it's dumb that they did the other version of the 2DS.
Yeah, the original 2DS was stupid.
It was so bad. It was such an ungodly bad design to a handheld that like it just. You should have just done this from the very beginning.
Yeah, that means that somebody at some point must have saw what the new 2DS looks like, right? And somebody else was like, no. It shouldn't fold. It should just be like a flat thing, because it's 2D. And so Nintendo was like, yeah, I like the way you think.
I think they were just more concerned about kids breaking the movable joint. I think that's what it was. I think it was more of a system made for little
all
kids.
Comes back to weed.
Not really what I was going for, but okay, sure.
Anyway, believe it or not, we've made it to the end of the news segment. So for more information on the news and other stories, ask Kookie about it.
That's right. It's no longer
She'll tell you.
Yeah. Their links are in our chat room right now.
Somewhere. Just gotta scroll back.
I guess.
About an hour. We spent an hour and a half on news, so.
Yeah, we sure did.
So before we split here, something that I wanted to talk about that I think it was a lot more relevant last week because Team 4-Star still had the Dragon Ball Z Abridged videos down from their YouTube page. But I want to talk about Dragon Ball Z Abridged because we've been talking about YouTube, the way that YouTube decides to structure their medium, as well as what they see as actionable in terms of copyright claims and things like that. And so one of my all-time favorite YouTube properties has been Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Absolutely.
And they got hit with one of these. I don't know. I don't know exactly
Their whole
what
library of DBZ Abridged got taken down,
and this is for the second time.
This has happened twice. This has happened twice now, and in a roundabout way, it does kind of speak to a lot of the issues that we've been raising with YouTube and with using YouTube as your primary medium. Team 4-Star isn't as short-sighted as a lot of other places are, partly because they have a lot of resources at their disposal. But they're not as short-sighted. They've got a very good, well put together website that they
do.
Even if their YouTube channel gets taken down, that they're able to continue to make their content on.
And it's worth noting when they say their episodes are non-profit, they don't monetize their videos.
Right. They do have a Patreon campaign, which does well. But yeah, no, they don't monetize their YouTube videos, their YouTube collection. And I think that first of all is kind of comparatively rare, because most people who operate on the medium definitely want to get monetized out of it. They want to be able to get something out of it. But I think Dragon Ball Z Abridged was this project that sort of started around the same time as Limit Break Radio. It was around 2006.
2008 for DBZ Abridged, 2006 for Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Because it spun out of Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, kind of.
And some of the same people were involved with
Little
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Cravo's involved with both projects.
Right. And so, you've got these totally organic YouTube projects that exist out there that sometimes end up recontextualizing a piece of popular media, like this kicked off the whole Abridged fad.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people really kind of jumped on it after then, but I mean, like,
a lot of really unfunny people.
That's unfortunately true. And the thing is that I like Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I think, really is one of those very few series that you can, if someone's never seen it before, that you're really showing them like a gem of YouTube.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I remember when I first got into DBZ Abridged, and I got in at a really good time because it was right after the first season had ended.
Yeah. Because
legitimately, the first couple episodes of DBZ Abridged are not particularly funny, but by the time you get to the end of that first season, it is going full cylinders. It is great.
Yeah, by the time Vegeta comes in as a full-fledged character.
Yeah, basically once Vegeta and Nappa are being seen regularly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
You need Nappa. Because Nappa is what hooks you to DBZ Abridged.
It is, really. Because there are key characters, I think, in every season that are like that, too.
Yes.
I mean, with the second season, it was...
Guru.
Yeah, I was trying to think of his full name. Lord, what is it?
Oh yeah, Super Kami Mega Ultra. Yeah. It gets an extra adjective every time he says it. Yeah. That's the bit.
And the thing is, I mean, just the writing that they apply to a series like this, it really is kind of on the level of like, and I've compared it many times to like a Family Guy or a Futurama. I really do think it's as easily as funny as any of those shows.
Definitely. Like, what I enjoyed about it is, like, for all intents and purposes, Dragon Ball Z should be something that, like, you know, you turned 16 or 17 and you left it behind. Like, it was okay. It was good as your early teenage show that you liked for action and stuff, but you really shouldn't have thought about it after you turned 18 or so.
Right.
But then Dragon Ball Z Abridged hits and takes this new spin on it to make the show funny instead of like an action series.
Well,
and now it's great again.
And it kind of does the same thing that, you know, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is so adept at, where they're poking fun at the source material, but they're doing it in a way that says, I've absorbed the source material at the same time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, the way that they make fun of it, a lot of their jokes are structured in like translation differences between the original Japanese and the English dub that, you know, ostensibly you should have already seen. I mean, there's a lot of really specific jokes in there that play on people's, you know, context and their history for the series. And I think that, to me, if I were YouTube, this would be one of the properties that I would protect.
Absolutely. And like Infinity Fox says in the chat, screw that, Super is great. I agree. I enjoy Dragon Ball Super, but there's no way I would be watching it right now if Dragon Ball Z Abridged didn't happen. Like, there's no, like, because that's what pulled me back into watching it.
I'm going to defend him. He's too busy watching My Little Pony.
Great. But
not wrong.
I've watched since season 2, maybe. I haven't seen an episode since then. I don't know.
No, really?
Anyway, no, I haven't. I've actually never seen a season 3 episode.
This is a safe place. You can be honest.
Yeah, this is a safe place. Sure.
If you tell us the truth, I promise I won't make fun of you for the next 2 episodes.
Great. Anyway, but like you say, the way they handle the source material in a way that is literally poking fun at it in the episode once they're on Namek and Vegeta or Goku and Frieza are fighting. Frieza says at some point, "I give this planet 2 minutes." And he's like, "Do you know how long a minute is?"
Yeah,
because I'm not sure you
do. A minute is like 8 episodes.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it's poking fun at. Because the infamous 5 minutes line. Okay, well, yeah, then 20 episodes later, that story arc finally ends.
Exactly, and I mean, you know, in terms of one of the early, acts that conventions would go and get to bring in. I mean, Team 4-Star is a fixture at every year's Youmacon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We usually get the new Hellsing Abridged debut at Youmacon every year.
Exactly, and I love the fact that, you know, we've created sort of our own sort of cultural stars out of something like this, because again, you know, the adeptness of comedy here, I think that there really is something universal in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, that it doesn't really matter what your sense of humor is, it doesn't really matter what your context is for the show, that even if you've never seen the show ever, that you'd still be able to find it funny.
Well, and that's the thing, like, they do such a good job of taking ancillary characters and making them stars. Like, Nappa is completely forgettable in the scope of Dragon Ball Z. To the point, here's how forgettable Nappa is. I don't remember if it was a movie or in, like, maybe Dragon Ball GT. Everyone who's ever died, like escapes hell and comes back, and Vegeta sees Nappa and had forgotten who he is.
Oh my god!
Like, he's like, "Oh, I think I remember you," and then he blows him away again.
I thought you were gonna say everybody comes back except Nappa.
No, Nappa did come back
because even the writers forgot about him.
But his, like, literally, Vegeta had forgotten who Nappa was at that point.
But and I think that there's some parallels that we can draw between the Team 4-Star team and our team, where, you know, you've got a lot of those guys who their day job is at a place like Funimation, you know, like the talent that they have is, and that they bring to Dragon Ball Z, is the same thing that they would be able to bring to any other TV production anywhere in the United States. I mean, that's how talented and that's how funny these guys are. And I love seeing things like, you know, Xenoverse using one of the actors as one of the alternate voices for characters.
A lot of them are getting bit parts and other things. Yeah. Because they are very good.
They legitimately are. And the fact that they've been able to kind of duct tape this thing together and keep it going, I honestly think that, you know, like YouTube, okay, right? If I were YouTube, I would be protecting something like Dragon Ball Z Abridged from ridiculous, spurious, outside copyright claims,
Definitely.
right? But to even shore that up even farther, if I were an organization like Funimation or even like Toei, I think no matter what, you can see the value in Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Start paying these dudes. Get them licensed. I would buy DVDs of Dragon Ball Z Abridged episodes.
I'm sure a lot of people would, absolutely.
I totally would. I mean, it's like Shin-Chan, right? Like Shin-Chan, when Funimation localized Shin-Chan, they did something completely like weird and different with it. And it seems to me like they should really figure out what legal hurdles there are
to clear something like
this.
Let me tell you something. I love Chris Sabat as the voice of Vegeta, right? Like, he's great. But if there was an alternate cut where they paid Lanny to 100%. Voice Vegeta throughout actual episodes of DBZ, I would buy the shit out of that.
100%. And I also like Chris Sabat, and it doesn't just have to do with the fact that when I met him, he was packing 2 pistols. That is at a convention.
One wasn't enough.
Wow. Like holsters under the arms. Like I was just like, damn, dude. Like if shit goes down, I'm gonna find Chris.
He had a Colt 45 and a Gallic gun.
He knew exactly
at an anime convention
exactly what the fuck was up. Yeah, it was weird at an anime convention. I'm not gonna lie, but it's also kind of weird because it like took me a second to realize. You know what I mean? Like when you're at an anime convention and so many people are dressed up in costume and so many of those costumes have like a weapon attached to it, right? Like,
you don't pay it no mind if somebody's carrying a weapon.
I honestly, it took me at least 10-15 minutes to register. Like, oh shit, he's actually strapped. Those are real
pistols.
Those are real guns.
Yeah,
that's not. Those aren't like.
He does this every day.
That's not a BB gun. Like he gonna kill me. But
he uses a voice like that too. That's his inner monologue.
He's a very nice guy, and you're right. His performance as Vegeta is top notch. But yeah, no, if I mean, Lanny is got to be a pretty close second right there.
Oh, Lanny is Vegeta, and Masako X is Goku. Like,
yes.
Like it was so. I had listened to DBZ Abridged so much that when I went back and heard Sean Schemmel as Goku, I had to be like, oh yeah, that's what Goku sounds like.
Right. Yeah.
It was very striking.
And I mean, just the way that whole cast works together, I think that's what. I think that's just what happens when you have people who work well together.
Well, yeah, and you get the scenes where they point out like there's always been the ongoing joke that Piccolo was a much better father to Gohan than Goku was. And they take that to the nth level, especially in the movies, like in the Broly movie.
Oh my god.
Like Gohan like cries out like for a moment, and then Piccolo shows up like, Gohan, are you okay? Do you need some juice? Did you get into that school you were trying to go for?
The writing is brilliant.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
It is top notch writing. And I mean, I'm such a huge fan. I really get upset every time their videos get pulled down.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And like, not to mention, like with Takahata, what spun out of that was Hellsing Abridged,
right?
Which I think might be even funnier than DBZ Abridged.
See, I don't have any context for the Hellsing anime.
Okay,
and so I don't. I maybe just because of that, I don't find it as funny.
It does play a lot off of the anime itself.
Yeah.
Probably more so than DBZ does. But yeah, oh my god, Hellsing Abridged is great.
It's I mean, I all of those Abridged series, really anything that Team 4-Star does, including their Twitch stream 4-Star.
And didn't they had a run with that guy with the glasses for a while because they were Inked Reality for TGWTG.
I did not know that.
They've been everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, their TFS Plays series.
Two Saiyans Play.
Really, honestly, they've got some of the funniest and best like Let's Plays or playthroughs, YouTube playthroughs, because they do them a lot of times as their characters.
Yes,
and I think that is really hilarious.
They've got Two Saiyans Play, which is kind of like their joke on Two Best Friends Play,
right?
And then for horror games, they have Vegeta Makes Krillin Play.
Yes,
that one is amazing.
Yes, and then there was the one time that Krillin and Nappa teamed up for Two Baldies play, and it was the PT trailer.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I
haven't seen that one.
Never laughed so hard. I don't think there's never been a YouTube video that's made me laugh that hard.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
It is so funny. All right, guys, if you have not, go take the time now, because God knows how long they're going to be up there. Take the time now to go to YouTube and check out Team 4-Star, Dragonball Z Abridged. You can search any of those and you'll find them very easily. Or you can just head on over to team4star.com.
Which we recommend.
Yes.
Go to their website, support it.
Because the thing is that even if their YouTube channel gets taken down, everything is over at Team 4-Star. So no matter what, you can find it at TFS. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it here for Final Encountercast. Like Team 4-Star, you can find us over at finalencountercast.com, where you can find a full archive of our episodes, as well as, you can't find the live blog anymore. The live blog,
that's gone.
That's done.
But you can find our episodes.
That's right. You can find all of our episodes, as well as links to other stuff, I guess. FinalEncountercast.com. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a little bit of iTunes love. Go to iTunes, and because they allow you to submit feedback on podcasts. Let everyone know what you think about the show. If you've been enjoying yourself, let everyone know, because it helps other people find the show. All right, that's going to be it for Final Encountercast today. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you're listening on the podcast, 1 p.m. at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio is when the show starts. Make sure that you join us right at 1 and call the show, because we allow you to do that. It's a cool thing that other shows don't do. Stay tuned later today after Limit Break Radio at about 7 o'clock. We'll have the latest episode of Checkpoint Radio. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I want to thank my crew, Kooky Persona, who's been hanging out, putting links into the chat and answering all of your calls, as well as Callie, Nika, Chris, and Robbie. My name's Nate. Have a good one. Final Encountercast is a production of FinalEncountercast.com, Limit Break Radio, and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Robbie Landis. This show is made possible by the generous Patreon donors of the podcast Limit Break Radio. Opening music provided by Keyboard Kid. More info and music can be found at keyboardkid206.bandcamp.com. Closing music provided by Sobzy. For more info, visit sobzy.bandcamp.com. Final Encountercast and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.